Hello and welcome back to Istaria. This is part number 4. So, real quick, if you remember in the last 2 parts, I was having trouble when I went to go add something to my horde. I couldn't click it. It was such a struggle. And I managed to fix it. And the only way I managed to fix it was I had to change my UI scale. And that seemed to sort things out there. So, we have less screen real estate now than we did before, but I think it's going to be okay. At least it's fine for me, and I'm playing on a big TV, so if you're watching this on like a console or, casting it to your TV or whatever, it should be fine. Anyways, in the last part, I realized that there was, a double XP event going on. I couldn't find any information about it when I was recording it, but after the fact, I looked into it. I found Istaria's Twitter account, and they mentioned it there. So there's 2 weeks worth of double XP going on here. And we've already burned most of a week of it. But I'm not too worried about it. It's nice and everything, but at this level, like, really all it's going to mean is that we're just going to level things extraordinarily fast. So, because of that, what I've decided is I'm going to focus on crafting here. And we're level 11 in our dragon crafting school. And that means every 10 levels, there is a set of quests you can do in the dragon crafting school that increases your crafting abilities. And there's one for every skill. So there's one for quarrying, there's one for mining, there's one for smelting, there's one for stoneworking, there's one for scalecraft, so on and so forth. So what we're doing is we're heading to the home city of the Ceres, the cat people race. And we haven't been here yet in this playthrough. And we're not going to spend a lot of time here right now, but we are going to go find the quest giver for this. We're looking at the ground again. We're going to find this quest giver that gives us these quests, and we're going to do them all, because it's an extra 10 skill in all of these things. Gem working, mining, scale crafting, quarrying, spellcraft, smelting, essence harvesting, stoneworking, and essence shaping, and that's going to help out a lot. And you can do it every 10 levels as well, so it ends up being, by the time you hit level 100, you actually get an extra 100 skill points for all of those things. And it's very, very helpful, and we're going to get started on this now. So here is Zarinus, the dragon craft trainer here in Kion. And as you can see, we have all kinds of quests here for them, so we're going to do them all. And Zarinus tells us, hello there, young one, what brings you to this dry and dusty town? So, and she tells us, so you wish to increase your smelting skill. Hey, that seems like an admirable goal, and I'm just the dragon to teach you. First, though, I need you to do something. Smelt 70 bronze bars for me, and then return for your training. And so all of these quests are going to have pretty much the same quest dialogue from this quest giver here. So I'm just going to go and get all of them all at once. And we'll actually be able to knock out multiple of them in the same go. So, looking at our quest log here, we have, let's see here. I wonder, no, I can't, okay. But, that wants us to create 70 bronze bars, that's 100 copper and tin, and that's 70 bronze bars. So if we craft 140 bronze bars and then keep an extra 100 copper and tin on top of that, we can just knock out 3 of those all at once. So what we're going to do is we're going to head back into town just a little bit here, and we're going to drop off a bunch of stuff in our vault. It's just taking up a lot of room right now, and I have a bunch of bronze bars already. Unfortunately, we can't use those. We have to actually craft them after the fact, now that we have the quest. So we're gonna dump our sandstone, our bronze bars, our dim essence orbs, why not? We have the correct pet equipped, so I'm gonna drop our combat pet in there, and I'm gonna drop these spell shards in here as well. Now we have a clean inventory. We have as much inventory space as we can reasonably be expected to have right now. There are ways that we can increase that here shortly with a new scale pack. There's a quest we can do called Dimensional Pocket that will increase our carrying capacity slightly as well. But we're going to increase our crafting skills first. And this episode is going to be almost entirely focused on crafting. We might do a little bit of killing, depending on how quickly, or if I get bored or whatever, or run out of things to talk about. But because the double XP, leveling adventure isn't anywhere near as much of a boring hindrance as leveling crafting is. So we're just going to focus on crafting. And we could, if we really wanted to, we could go back to New Trismus to gather these bronze bars and stuff, and copper and tin, but there's a field right here, and it's pretty close, and it doesn't require us to teleport or anything, so we'll just roll with this. So we need 140 bronze bars in total, and it still is going to take us 4 copper and tin to make a single bronze bar. So I'm going to pull up my calculator. And 140 times 4 is 560, plus we need the 100 extra copper and tin. So we need 560 in total. Now, I feel pretty confident that we can carry all of that in one go, though I could be wrong. We ran out of that node. We might have to come back and gather just a little bit more. So that's going to be about 250. That's going to be about 180. That's what? Almost 500? I don't know. It's going to be close. We'll see. Math is hard, and I already closed my calculator app, and yeah, actually we might not be able to carry. Oops. Did the wrong thing. Equip disk. There we go. And now it got moved, so screwed that up slightly. Unlock it. We'll move it back into place. Lock it again. There we go. And as I'm starting to play this a little bit more, I'm realizing that some of the like text and stuff is a little kind of janky, especially like in this character window and stuff. I guess it's not that bad. It's definitely going to be fine. I don't think we're gonna have to worry about it too much. I think we'll manage. Oh yeah, in this crafting, like that arrow is kind of funky, and like some of these like lines aren't really working, and yeah, it's just a little bit wonky, but that's okay. It's better than watching me struggle to add things to my horde constantly. Now, my only concern, really, is I don't know how this is going to look on mobile. Like, if you're watching this on your phone, it might it might look like it might be unwatchable. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to come back and gather just a little bit more, but that's okay. Yeah, there's our Yeah, I mean, that's just... Okay, that's fair. But we'll activate our smelting, and then we have our 2 machines here in the back. So that's 141. We only need 140. There we go. And we'll just dump that into our pet. We'll unequip our cargo disc because it slows us down, and we don't need that space anymore. And then we just need... Oh, there's our... I forgot to turn mining back on. It did it for us. But now we just need the 100 copper and tin ore here, which will only take a moment to gather. And then when we head on back in to town to turn this in, it's gonna be we'll be able to complete all 3 of these quests all at the same time. So it's just a nice little, like, you know, I'd say bonus of just how the functionality of all this works out. And so once we're done doing these crafting quests to increase our skill, all of our crafting skills, we're going to head back into New Trismus, and I believe it's Carrion, the Dragoncraft trainer there, will have a bunch of formulas that we can buy and use to create new equipment for ourselves, and that's going to help us out quite a bit. So here's Zarinus. We'll greet her, I should say. As you can see, we greeted her once, it turned all the quests in, gave us a pretty good amount of experience there. We leveled up from it, for sure. And because of the XP multiplier and all that, it was even more. But we finished those 3 already, and we have some excess copper and tin. I'm just going to get rid of that. I don't need it. And now... we need to make, do basically the exact same thing that we just did, but with sandstone instead. And there's sandstone, again, not too far from here. It's a little bit more of a walk, and we'll get to see a little bit more of this area here that... we're inside Kion, technically, but the whole landmass is called Lesser Eridoth. And I'll show you and then take off Auto Center. And then, I don't want to be in Kion. There we go. And you can see, you know, it's a fairly decent sized landmass. And we'll explore the everlasting hell out of it as time goes on. But for right now, we don't need that. And I think what I might do, and I'll wait until I'm going to activate quarrying first. But and here's our sandstone right here. And I think what we'll do is gather, and then while we're gathering, let's see here, compass. There we go. This is what I wanted. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of the map. Maybe. I guess I can't close it. Properties. Locked. There we go. I'm just going to get rid of the map for now. Just to free up some screen real estate. We'll need more. We'll need that mini-map. We'll need the map more in general as time goes on. But what we'll do is we'll just pull up the map like this. Pull up this map instead. I do like having that time of day counter there. That's the reason why I had it initially for as long as I did, but I don't think we can live without it. We don't need to know what time of day it is specifically in the world of Istaria. We have a close enough idea. Just from, the darkness, how dark and stuff it is. Now, also in the last part, I just forgot, we also crafted this spell called True Grit. And it promotes health and armor values with a primal enchantment. It's only usable by dragons. And the effect itself, the spell itself, it adds 18 armor and 8 health. Which is not a crazy thing. It's not like, oh, that changes everything or anything like that. But it does help a little bit. And the technique we put on it, that Carrion showed us how to do in that, has a chance, a 32.67% chance to increase our armor by an additional 20 points for 2 minutes, which it's not really worth it, right? Maybe at higher levels it's better, you know, like once we get up to higher tiers and stuff, it'll be more useful, but as it is right now, I'm not really worried about it. I'm not going to sit there and like cast it over and over and over again in an attempt to make it work. It's just not that important. So we'll drop our bricks back onto our pet. We'll unequip our disc. I also renamed our disc to just disc, so instead of, you know, refurbished sandstone cargo disc, it just says disc. We know what it is. Not overly concerned with it. Now, once we're done with this, which we only need 10 more. Now, one more. There we go. Now, when we're done with this sandstone, we are going to finish up the other quests in New Trismus because we still need essence and we need malachite, and both of those things are kind of a pain in the ass to get on this island here. They are here. They're around, but if I recall correctly, the malachite's guarded by golems that we are completely incapable of killing, and the wisps are in a cedar forest, not this one that we're in right now, but a different one. And also, I don't remember there being an essence channeler there. Now, I could be wrong about that, but I don't think I am. We'll see. But in any case, we're not going to waste time with that. It's going to be quicker to go back to New Trismus and just do everything there. And then like I said, we'll just head back into New Trismus. After we're done with all these, we'll head back into New Trismus and we'll start making... abilities... craft, and then you can see we have our Scalecraft Mastery, increases skill with Scalecraft by 10 and so on, and our, you know, you can even see, like, we'll compare, we'll say Gemcraft versus, like, Smelting, right? So, like, our Smelting, where's Gem Working? So our Smelting and Gem Working has the same base skill of 96, but our Smelting is 123 versus the 108, right? So once we do the gem working quest, it'll be 118. They'll be a lot more in line with each other. But for now, we still need to go do those things. And again, we can do all this all at the same time. So what we'll do is we'll head to the gem cave. We've been in it once before. I think when we were making a claw. We had to go in there. So it's pretty much about the same distance. It's pretty much about the same distance to go to the gem cave, regardless of which way we go. So we're just going to go this way. Pop our sprint as much as possible, and we'll go get our gems made real quick. We don't even, all we need to do is make 70 of them, and then we can move on, and then we'll get our 50 dim essence orbs and 100 dim essence, And we shouldn't have any issue carrying all that all the way back into Kion to turn those quests in either. And that will definitely get us another level, again, thanks to the bonus XP. And then we'll probably just focus on making equipment and spells, buying the formulas and stuff for all the equipment and spells that we want, and then we will, once we have everything made that we want to have for ourselves, so for, once we have all the spells and everything else made that we can use now, and actually make now, then we'll probably just focus a little bit on grinding crafting. And one of the nice things about this is, so especially for like right now where we have the double XP weekend, is you can grind out your crafting. And again, like you can see, like we can get well past level 20 in just grinding crafting. And one nice, really nice thing about that, particularly for dragons, is when... Or we're getting malachite. Okay. When, if we get our dragon crafting, say, to like level 25 or so, it'll unlock our second wing scale slot, and then we can make tier 2 scales, which have more strength, they have more armor, we can put better techniques on them. And then when we go back to killing things, we can keep wearing those scales, and it'll make us that much more powerful. It'll make killing things that much easier. And you can do that really for quite a while. Like, there's a lot of the higher level resources are guarded, and you do have to fight monsters in order to get them. But you can still get up into like 40s and 50s in your crafting schools without ever... Really, you don't even have to take an adventure school in order to do that, right? Like, you can pretty much just, go ham on leveling up your crafting and making yourself a bunch of gear that you wouldn't otherwise even be able to use. And then just, okay, well, I wouldn't say like a demigod or anything, but it's just like, okay, well, I don't have I'm not at risk of being killed anywhere near as much, right? So, and things are going to die a lot faster, you're going to have more armor and, strength and so on and so forth. So, I'm thinking we might do that, because especially with this, it's going to be nearly impossible to keep our crafting and adventuring around the same level, at least for the lower levels anyways. Alrighty, there's our gems, so we'll get rid of our uncut piece there. And then we need to make 50 dim essence orbs and collect 100 dim essence on top of that. So 50 orbs will be 200, plus we need the extra 100, so we need 300 dim essence in total. Which isn't too bad. It really shouldn't take much time. Okay, this isn't even technically water. So swimming is not really much of a thing in this game. The first time you go in the water, it'll warn you, hey, you can't swim, you're gonna drown, and you move incredibly slow, so quit it. But the game, generally speaking, doesn't even really require you to go in the water at all. It's just kind of there as for like map boundaries and stuff. But that river here, I think it's not even actual water in the same way that the water down there is. I think it's just, it looks like it, but it's not really like, it's not going to actually impact your ability walk around or you're not going to drown in it or anything. It is a little unfortunate that there is no swimming in this, but okay. We'll file this under shit you don't really need to know, but whatever, I'll throw it out there anyways. I have a phobia of deep water. I think it's called thalassophobia. I don't fully remember. I hate it. Oh, no, success rate. We want the success rate. So we only need 50 of these. There we go. And then we still have our 100 essence left over. But yeah, I think it's called thalassophobia, and it basically, so if you play World of Warcraft Classic, or if you played World of Warcraft Classic back in the day, if you made a druid, there was like a druid specific quest line in order to get the water, druids in that game can transform into animals, and in order to get the ability to transform into like a seal or a walrus or whatever, you had to do a quest, and part of that quest, at least on the Horde side, required you to like swim down like the ocean, like way further down than like is realistically necessary, and that was a sweaty palms situation for me. So knowing that that's not really a thing here, it makes me a lot happier, that's for sure. Knowing I don't have to deal with that crap of just like, yeah, I'm not gonna I hated it. I hated it a lot. So alright, here's our Innis. She took all of our stuff away, and now we're done with all of her quests. So we got a couple of levels and all of the skill increases that we can get for our crafting, at least until we hit level 20. Which I want to say is going to be a long time from now, but with the double XP it might not be. So here's Carrion again, and if we read her, she doesn't really have anything important to say. But if we come here, right, so now these are all the formulas that we can buy. We already have some of them because she gave us some of them. But a lot of these we're going to have to just buy and scribe for various reasons. Now this Tainted Essence Orb, she already told us we're not going to need Tainted Essence for anything, but she lied. We'll find out about that in a long time from now. But we're going to grab the formula now because we're here and we have the money anyways. Next, we're going to get this Strength Wing Scale, because we're going to need those. We're going to wear one of those. We already have the Strength Chest Scale. We already have the Stone Brick. Now, we don't have Unrelenting Winds. We do have True Grit. We don't have Rejuvenating Breeze. We don't have Promote Vitality. We don't have Promote Intellect. We do have Prime Bolt. We do not have Primal Health. We do not have Improved Prime Bolt. We do not have Ignore Mysticism. We do not have Gust. We do not have Grazing Winds. We do not have Gift of Velocity. We do not have Breeze. We do not have Barrage. This is getting expensive, as you can see. We do have Metal Bar and Lesser Gem Tipped Dragon Claws. We do not have Focus Chest Scale. We do have Essence Orb. We do not have Dragon Tool Claw. We do not have Dragon Scale Pack. We do not have Dexterity Wing Scale. Even though we're not going to use Dexterity Scales, we do have the chest one. We're still going to get them. We have Cut Gem. We have Blank Spell Shard. And these last ones we don't have. We don't have the strength head scale, but we don't have enough Scalecraft to be able to use it. We don't have Quickening Breeze, but we can't make it anyways. We don't have Counter Check Primal, but we can't use it. We don't have Arcane Refusal, but we can't use it. And we don't have Dexterity Head Scale. But we do have all this other stuff, and we are going to buy all this other stuff, and that's putting us back a little more than 11 silver. Which is a fair amount of our money. We had less than 50 at the time, so, you know, that was not cheap. But, again, me being a bit of a completionist, I want to have everything. And on top of that, even the stuff that I'm not going to make and use for myself, I still like to be able to have it in the event that I want to make stuff for other people, or I could make some of these things and sell them on the consignor, right? If I wanted another way to make money, and we might do that a little bit at some point. But for now, I don't want to add no. Close. Do that. So Barrage is a dragon-only spell. Fearsome winds explode in an area surrounding the caster, and so this isn't something that we're going to use. I'm not even going to make it and describe it, just because it's not. It's a spell that it's an AoE spell that's meant for dragons who cast spells, and that's not something that we do. However, Breeze is a heal over time effect. Heals in an area around the caster. The range is self-only, so it doesn't work on other people. And it only heals 1 to 3 every 5 seconds for 30 seconds. But it's still a nice little heal that's, is going to be beneficial to us. So I'm just going to drag that down onto our action bar here. Now the dexterity and focus stuff we're not going to use. I'm not going to make a tool claw, at least not yet. Basically, it's a bronze gauntlet worn over dragon's claws, which can be imbued with a variety of crafting techniques. It is important to note that a crafting claw does not replace dragon crafting abilities in any way. So, if we had the techniques available to us, we could, put like a mining increase on it or something, right? But at this, I'm not worried about it at this level. Garnet tipped dragon claw is not going to be as good as the one we have now. Gift of velocity, a long-term blessing of faster flight. It's +2 flight speed. The problem with this is we can't fly, so there's really no point in it until we get to higher levels. Grazing wind reduces the target's chance to evade primal and slash attacks. So this isn't the worst thing in the world. But again, it's a debuff that just makes it so our spells and our claws hit, but either harder or more frequently. I'm not entirely certain. Yeah, it reduces the target's chance to evade. So basically just increases our chance to hit against a specific target. Not something that's gonna... Actually, you know what? It kind of is. There might be some tougher enemies that we'll have to fight at some point that might be worth it. Next up, we have Gust. Fearsome winds and explode in an area surrounding the caster. Not interested in that. Ignore mysticism. Increases resistance against spirit, blight, and nature damage. Now this is actually going to be useful for us. We will be fighting things that are going to try to use spirit, blight, and nature damage against us. So, we'll pop our ignore mysticism here. Now, improved Prime Bolt is the same thing as Prime Bolt, just a little bit better, right? We'll even take a look. This is a 14 to 21 damage, and then our other Prime Bolt, let's find it real quick in here. So it's 14 to 21, and normal Prime Bolt's 5 to 7. So it's a pretty big difference. It's definitely worth making a new one of this. That's all tier 2 stuff. Malachite tipped dragon claw, I believe, is the one we're using right now. It is. So we don't need that. Now, primal health heals a character. Heals 25 to 29. We're not even high enough level to actually use it right now. Because we have to be level 12. But we can make it, so we might as well. And we'll just keep it on us until we're ready. Now, promote intellect. Promotes the focus and power values with a primal enchantment. So we don't use focus and power, so that's not going to be something we care about. However, promote vitality increases our strength and dexterity values, which we do use both of those things in quite a bit, so we'll get that out here as well. Now we have rejuvenating breeze, heals in an area around the caster. And it heals 2 to 6 every 5 seconds for 30 seconds. Doesn't sound great. It's not terrible either, though. We'll take it. Now here is our Sandstone Dragon Scale Pack. So as you can see, it actually takes quite a bit of materials to make, but it increases our carrying capacity from 1,000 to 1,400. And it gives us, it says plus 25 max stacks. Yeah, so it'll be 125 now. Yeah, I don't know what that means. It seems like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what it's like after we make it, but we do still need to make it first, so we'll drag that onto this action bar as well. And we can clear this action bar out later and replace it with other things. This is just for the sake of, what we're doing here. Now, we already have our Sandstone Strength chest scale, but we do need our Sandstone Strength wing scale, which gives us an extra 10 strength and 5 armor. That slate stuff, spiked turquoise tipped dragon claw. So this requires level 19 adventure level. So while we could make this now, it's going to be a long time before we can use it. And I'm kind of just like, that's okay. But our turquoise tipped dragon claw only requires level 13, which we're still a couple levels away from. But you know what? We'll make it. We'll have it. That'll be okay. So we'll dump this. Kind of running out of room a little bit here. We'll dump it down there for right now. And then finally we have Unrelenting Winds, which lowers resistance to primal damage to an enemy. Again, we don't use primal damage, so it's not going to be useful to us. But, and the nice thing here is, we actually do have some resources in our vault still. So, what we'll do is we'll head over to our vault, pick out the resources that we do have. I don't think we're going to need domestics for anything. We're not going to be adding any techniques to anything or anything like that, so it's fine. So let's grab our sandstone and our bronze, and we'll even grab the few spell shards that we still have, because we will need those as well. And we're going to have to make some additional spell shards. Oops. In order to... oh man, I just get distracted. Spacing out, but that's okay. We will have to make a few more spell shards in a moment. But first, we'll head to our spell forge. Sorry. Okay. And we'll just go right down the list here. So, breeze, useful. We'll take that. Our grazing winds. Ignore mysticism. And now we need a few more spell shards, so we need to head over here to the stoneworking pedestal. Now, I don't know exactly how many... oh, right. Oh, yeah. Okay, we're going to have to gather some more sandstone for sure as well. But we'll make that and see where that gets us. Now, here's our improved prime bolt. Go ahead and make that. Primal health, yeah, we don't even have enough. Okay, well, we're gonna have to burn all of our sandstone into spell shards for sure, and it's still not gonna be anywhere near enough, but that's okay. So we made Prime Bolt, so we need this healing spell. And then we're still going to be short. Let's see. We need 8 in total, and we have 2, so we need 6 more spell shards. Not too much. But then we are going to need a lot more sandstone for like our wing scale and stuff like that too. So, real quick, we'll go ahead and scribe all these spells. Actually, we're not going to scribe the healing spell because we can't. That's fine. We'll come over here and we'll just start putting... I like to keep my heals and stuff in the same area. So this is a debuff. We'll put our debuffs over here. Right, that increases our resistances, so... I never even put True Grit on our action bars. But we'll keep our buffs kind of in the same area here. And then Improved Prime Bolt can just replace Prime Bolt, because there's no point in having both. Alrighty. Alrighty. So... yeah, first things first, we're going to have to go grab some sandstone. So we'll pop Quarrying on, pop Sprint. And we won't need too much. Luckily, there's a human, or a biped, I should say, scholar's desk in where the sandstone is, so we can just kind of gather up a load and make what we need, and then we can just move on to the next thing, which will be our wing scale and our scale pack to increase our carrying capacity. And after that, we might just grind out crafting a little bit. I know we have a lot more to do as far as killing is concerned, but I like the idea of, you know, getting to a higher level. And I mean, even if, you know, worst case, really, if we hit level 20, it'll open up our second wing scale slot, and then we can have 2 wing scales, even if they're both tier 1, right? We're like, oh, while we're digging, we'll even look at the differences of show products. And then, so here's our sandstone wing scale, gives 10 strength and 5 armor. And then our slate wing scale gives 20 strength and 10 armor, right? So even if we're not going to make, and we're not because we won't have anywhere near enough skill, but even just being able to equip a second sandstone wing scale is going to help and make a pretty decent difference for us there. So that should be enough. It's probably not, honestly. Let's take a look here. 37 bricks, and then 37 bricks. Yeah, we're going to gather some more here. We're definitely going to need more. And, yeah. Okay, that noise that spider just made freaked me out. I was looking at my phone to see what time it was, and, I just heard it without seeing it. It's like, am I being attacked? What's happening? It felt a little weird. Now, I could have equipped my cargo disc and continued gathering, but I'm impatient. I think this is enough anyways. Alrighty. Now, I don't think we need 20. In fact, we can find out how many we need. So we need 6 more. I remember that now. Oh, I walked away from the stoneworking pedestal. Oops. There we go. There we go. Now promote vitality. And rejuvenating breeze. Now, I'm not entirely confident I can use both of these. I can. Cool. Alrighty. Spells. Rejuvenating breeze can come over here with those. And then promote vitality. promote vitality, we'll have to come over here with... Well... Yeah, that's a debuff. We're going to have to reorganize that, but we'll mess with that another time. Alrighty. So for our scale pack, we need 10 bricks for that, and then our 1 wing scale, we need 21. So we have enough sandstone for all of that. And then we have the bronze bars we need for our scale pack as well. And we just need 5 turquoise, 5 malachite, and 5 garnet. But I think what we might do, and I don't know if this is going to pan out for us in any way, it really just depends on... I'll activate quarrying again. It depends on what the low-level economy looks like, which is always, in this game in particular, it's up in the air. Sometimes there's somebody who made a bunch of stuff and are selling it on the consignor. Sometimes there's absolutely nothing on the consignor for lower levels. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try to make... That's plenty. I'm going to make 3 of these scale packs, and I'm going to use one of them myself. And then... Oh, wasn't I going to make a claw too? Yeah, so that needs turquoise. So we'll just gather a bit more in the way of turquoise here. So there's the 9, and then we need another 15, so that's 24. We'll keep going until we can make 24. We're probably going to need our cargo disc here. Yeah. But anyways, I'm going to make 3 of these scale packs, and I'm going to try to sell the other 2 on the consignor. Now, I don't know if it's actually going to work. It may or may not. It's you know, really impossible to tell. Without actually going and looking at it. But I have the resources, and absolute worst case scenario, what I will do is if I put them up and they don't sell, or if there's just so many of them that I'm not even going to bother, you know, sometimes higher levels will put up stuff like that for, you know, a few copper, and it's just a minuscule amount of money that's not worth the effort. Then we'll just throw it in our vault. If that, you know, if something like that ends up being the case, we'll throw the extra ones in our vault. And if we meet a new player or something, or, you know, whatever, it's like, hey, you know, and they ask, like, oh, can anybody make me a better scale pack? Oh, yeah, sure, I have a couple in my vault I can give you, or whatever, right? So, now, yeah, we have enough everything for all that, so we'll pop recall, head back into our dragon crafting cave. Oh, I'm still dragging my cargo disc. That's why it failed. I was confused there for a second. I was like, what? Well, whatever. That's fine. So we will have to go back to Kion in order to get to a consignor that, you know, we can sell things on. And a consignor is basically, you know, think of the auction house in World of Warcraft, or right? I can't remember what it was called in Final Fantasy XIV, but it was something like the Bazaar or something. I don't remember. I didn't play Final Fantasy XIV anywhere near as much as everything else. So we'll get our claw made here. We'll turn Scalecraft on first, because that's necessary. Now we'll go ahead and make our wing scale. And that's going to increase our strength and stuff a lot. Now we can't use that claw yet, unfortunately, but that's fine. And then we'll take a look at this. And yeah, we can make 3 of them. We have enough resources. So, 3 of them made. And we're just going to delete our starting dragon scale pack because we're never going to need it or want to look at it ever again. That's for sure. Now, since we're here, we're pretty much right up next to the vault anyways. I'm going to do a couple of things here. First things first, I'm going to drop our sandstone back in. And I'm going to drop these gems in as well. And we're probably not going to need these gems for anything in particular. I don't think they're going to be that useful. Okay, that requires level 12. And that requires level 13. So we'll just jump it all. We'll dump all this stuff in here anyways, just because we don't need... I want to free up as much space in our inventory as we can for when we're actually grinding crafting. So now we can head into Kion and just take a look and see. I'm hoping, really, realistically, all I'm hoping for out of this, these scale packs, for as far as like being able to sell them to other players, is like a silver. You know what I mean? A silver coin would be nice. Now, it does take a second to download all the items that are listed. And there's quite a few of them, so we're probably... let's see here. I think it would be under dragon scales? No. Let's see here. Miscellaneous, maybe? Yeah. Okay, there's a granite one. There's obsidian. And yeah, this is all higher level stuff. And the only filter I have is for miscellaneous. Now, that being said, people are selling these things pretty cheaply. Like, this is a level 60 cargo disc that someone only wants 5 silver for. And then, like, this obsidian scale pack, which is level 60, again, people are selling for 5 silver. And this granite one is 3 silver. So, that's actually kind of awesome. There's no sandstone ones on there. So, we're going to list these for... We'll list them for a silver. I think that's an appropriate price for these. And it's going to cost us 100 copper, because they have a 5% charge for them, and then they'll take another 5% if they actually sell. I don't know that they will. Honestly, it's kind of hard to tell. It just depends on... Again, this game isn't super popular, so... Really, it just depends on if there's any other new dragons hopping around that either don't know how to make their own scales, or if they're just not interested, or what. Alrighty. So, for now, we're just going to go ahead and... so we're going to use... Oh, frames are chugging along a little bit. There we go. We're going to actually use metal to level up our crafting here. So the easiest way is going to be using bronze. So the chest scales, we have optimal efficiency on, which means they require a lot less resources to make individual ones. And then if we look at the wing scale, it's basically the opposite, where we barely even have the skill to make them in the first place. So I don't know which is better. Okay. Alright, well, first things first, we're just going to drop that on and this on. And then we'll close that. And then this is a rich vein, which means it's going to last much, much longer. So we'll equip. There. Okay. So for efficient leveling for crafting, right? Basically the idea is you want to just do whatever is like the most efficient, right? Like how can you get the most amount of experience out of the resources that you gathered on each trip, right? And the conventional wisdom is to pick an item that you're just barely at maximum efficiency on, right? So like if we look at, for example, our bronze dexterity chest scale, we're at optimal skill, which means it takes the least amount of resources, but because we're higher level, we're getting less XP per unit, right? But the conventional wisdom says this would be a good thing to level off of because we are at optimal skill, and it's going to take less resources for each individual thing. But the problem that I have with that is if I come over here to these wing scales, right? Again, opposite, we're barely over the minimum required skill, and you can see it takes 23 bronze bars for each one, but it gives way more XP for each one, right? And I've tinkered around with it a little bit in the past, and I found that the conventional wisdom doesn't really hold up to scrutiny, right? So we're gonna run some tests, and this is already, if you've made it this far and you're thinking, and you heard me say we're gonna run some tests, and you're thinking, are you fucking kidding me? I'm turning this video off. How did you make it this far in the first place? Honestly. If running tests on crafting efficiency is boring to you, I don't know how you got it, made it. How many hours? Oh, actually, we can even test. Played. 8 hours, 26 minutes. To be fair, a lot of that I was messing with settings and stuff, but still, I've recorded like 6 hours of this already. Anyways, moving on. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna increase our smelting here. Or turn on our smelting, I should say. And now we have 164 bars. Yeah, unless that's 184. Maybe 184. It's hard to see. It is 184. Okay. So we're gonna pop these into our disk. We're gonna park our disk. And so we need 16 more to hit an even 200. So I think that's what we're gonna do. Is just get enough to make 16. We'll make the 16, and then we'll have 200 bars to work with, and we'll go from there. And we'll run a test, and then we'll come out, and we'll get 200 more, and we'll do another test. Alright, that's 16. Smelting. Ran past the smelter just a little bit. Back over here. Okay. Now we're at 200. So we are at... I don't know why I tried to do that. I don't need to do that. Okay. We are roughly 3,000 away from leveling, so let's see how much XP we get from making the chest scales. Whoops. Scalecraft. Yeah, there we go. And so what we're going to do is we're going to toggle auto deconstruct and toggle off close on creation. So what's going to happen is when we make these items, it's going to automatically destroy them and reclaim some of the resources from them, and then we're just going to keep doing that until we completely run out. So we have about 3,000 XP to go to level, and we'll just keep track of how much XP we gained. And as you can see, every time we craft stuff, we're getting less and less resources back because we're making less and less things. There we go. Alrighty. So now we have about 1,000 left. So that was around 1,900 XP in total. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to pull up my notepad on my phone real quick. And just so I don't forget, so it was about 1900 XP for all of that, and we actually did have a couple of bars left over also. And we'll move that over to our pet, and I'm going to actually come back and go back to harvesting this rich node that we started harvesting earlier. Yeah, and then we'll get ourselves back up to 200 copper and tin bars, and then we'll try the same thing with the wing scales and see what difference it makes. With 1900 XP, especially during what is a double XP fortnight, you know, that small amount of a level for one trip like that, especially when we've already picked up, you know, we got our new scale pack and stuff to where we can carry more. That's not a lot. And even for this game, like, that would be normal if we were in, like, the level 40 range or so. But at this level, at level 13, that, in my opinion, just based on what I remember from playing this, you know, again, on and off for the last damn near 20 years at this point, I would rather... I personally feel like there's more room for... there's definitely more XP that we can get out of those 200 copper bars. Bronze bars, I should say. Now, that being said, I could be wrong. And that might be the better way to go. And if that ends up being the case, I'm going to get sad about how long the grinding videos of this are going to be. And we're just going to move on to go back and doing quests and killing things. Because we still have a lot of quests to do here on New Christmas. We have a lot of quests to do, for sure. And honestly, we will probably should do a little bit of that anyways. The last thing I want to do is just make it a video, you know, a 2-hour-long fucking video that's just crafting and nothing else. And, you know, even though, again, I've mentioned this in the past, but the idea is basically using this crafting time to... so that's only 150. Plus we have that, so we need 41 more in total. And we can just gather up everything off of this, and if we have, you know, we'll just make the 41 bars and leave it at that if we have to. But, yeah, I you know, the idea for this crafting bar is like, oh, like, I got funny stories that I want to tell, like... You know, this is an excellent time to tell them because it's literally just sitting here watching a dragon dig a fucking, you know, ore in the ground. It's not the most riveting shit in the world, that's for sure. And yeah, and, you know, I said there's stuff that I like to talk about, which is, you know, stuff that makes me happy. Alright, we almost have enough. Now we have enough. Alright, stop action, smelting. Okay, cool. So that actually leveled us the rest of the way. In crafting here. So we're at 104 XP in total into this level. Right now. So let's turn our Scalcraft back on, get our wing scales back out, and see how this does. Okay, and that was just that. And that gave us 3,400 XP. So, was faster to do that. In terms of, we didn't have to auto deconstruct and then, keep doing it over and over and over again, but also it gave us, 3,400 XP versus 1,900. And, I mean, that's a difference of, 1,500 XP. That's a pretty big difference, honestly. That's not even just like, I guess it is technically more efficient to do that. It's like, no, that's a huge difference. And like I said, maybe the conventional was, I guess I didn't say this earlier. Maybe the conventional wisdom has changed since the last time I really was into this, and keeping in mind, like, I don't play this all the time, right? This isn't like, ooh, I'm fucking, I play it, I've been, constantly since it came out. No, like, I take breaks. I mean, there has been times of my life where I didn't play this game or even really think about it for probably 5 or 6 years, and then just, it's still there. I should check on that, and even now, coming back to it now, as of when I started recording this series a couple weeks ago or so, I don't think it was even that long. It was a little more than a week ago, probably. But even with that, like, it had been a year and a half, I think, since the last time I actually logged in to screw around with it, and that's a pretty significant amount of time, and a lot's changed since the last time I played this too. And it's one nice thing about making a new character with it is to just be able to I can see they improved the new player experience significantly, and thanks to having played it before, I know how the game works at a basic level, which is helpful, which is great, really. But then also I get to experience the new the new player experiences and stuff, right? It makes a pretty big difference. So we'll head on back over here, and we'll get these rich nodes that are a little bit further away. It adds to our travel time a little bit, but it's not that big of a deal. And I like these rich nodes because they last longer, and we'll be able to should be able to fill up our pet, our disc, and our own inventory all the way with just this one node. So there's less, walking around and stuff. But, so, I think this is a good time for story time. So if you watched my Horizon Zero Dawn series, there was I believe it was during a supplemental episode. So if you didn't watch that, I don't blame you. They were long and honestly probably more boring than this. But in that, we read through a series of data points, and it was talking about a guy who... It was from the perspective of a guy who really just kept fucking up when he was a kid, and when he recorded it, he was an adult, and he was just kind of looking back on it and realizing how much of an ass he was being, basically. And I got choked up a bit while I was reading it because I empathized with him quite a bit, and obviously it wasn't a real story. It's from a video game, but it was still a fairly it still had a fairly significant impact on me on an individual level because of my own past experiences. And mine weren't anywhere near as bad as his because, you know, it's real life. And, you know, trying to compare it to a video game story it's meant to be more dramatic isn't really fair. But even with that being said, I was still able to relate to him on some level due to, again, it's similar, but again, nowhere near as bad experiences in my life when I was a kid. And I'm not going to recap his story. If you're interested in it, specifically what I'm referring to is what were they called? And we got a nice little level up there. But, I lost my train of thought. And losing my train of thought like that will make more sense as this story progresses. But specifically in terms of, like, drugs and alcohol, right? And I've had my demons with alcohol in particular. So, you know, I live in a small Midwest town. I grew up in a small Midwest town in the United States. And there's nothing to fucking do here. Like, even as an adult, I still live in the same town. And even as an adult, like, I know, like, it's boring. And, like, you know, most of the people that I know had similar experiences when they were kids. And honestly, a lot of them even continuing on as adults because there's nothing to do. So it's just like, well, I could go, I'm trying to drag this over. There we go. I could, you know, so for example, like, yeah, there's nothing to do. Well, what do you do when you're a teenager? And, you know, especially when I was young, there was no internet. Or there was, I should say, the internet didn't exist the way that it does today. Like, online gaming was barely even a thing when I was in high school. YouTube, where you're watching this video, didn't exist when I was in high school. You know what I mean? So a lot of kids, myself included, turned to drugs and alcohol. Now, luckily for me, I never got into the heavy drugs, right? I was never doing like cocaine or heroin or any of that crazy shit, right? I was just smoking pot with my friends, which at the time, that was illegal in every, you know, capacity. Not capacity, what the fuck am I talking about? But it was illegal in every way. It was illegal at a state level, it was illegal at a federal level. Medical marijuana may have become a thing for a little bit, or may have just started becoming a thing around this time, but I didn't have any way to gain access to it. You know, being a minor and being, you know, not having any conditions or whatever that would give me access to medical marijuana, and I really didn't like the idea of going to, like, a doctor and just being like, my eyes hurt, give me pot. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I know that was a common thing, especially in the early days of medicinal marijuana, where, you know, that's what people did. They just, you know, there was a stand-up comedian whose name I don't remember off the top of my head, but he had a similar deal where he had, you know, a bit in his stand-up thing where he lived in California, and this was during the time of medical only, and he was just like, my eyes hurt, and the doctor's like, hey, here you go. Okay, here's your card so you can buy pot at the store, you know. And I wasn't comfortable doing that because I, generally speaking, feel like that even when it comes to stuff like that, that doing it the right way and not lying and not, you know, misleading things or people is the right way to go, and I still maintain that today. So I just fucking smoke pot, you know, and I continue to do so after high school and you know, after, you know, into my early 20s and stuff. And I was a fucking shithead, dude. It's embarrassing, like thinking back on it and, you know, talking about it and stuff. Like, it was a time of my life that I regret a lot of it. I almost certainly regret. You know, I have more regrets than not, by a long shot. And I didn't. At the time, I just kind of didn't care. All I really cared about was getting high, or I drank a little bit on occasion just because it was easier to get a hold of. You know, all I needed in order to get alcohol was somebody who was at least 21, and, you know, I knew people who were, so getting alcohol wasn't the difficult thing. You know, it wasn't the pain in the ass that getting pot was. So I might have drank every once in a while on occasion, and I'd fucking drink to excess and get fucking plastered or whatever. But generally speaking, I really didn't do that too frequently. I mostly was focused around getting high, and it made me a lazy fucking piece of shit. And before the stoners come out of the woodwork and start screaming at me about how, you know, well, it doesn't do that to me or whatever, that's great. I'm not trying to say that it does do that to everybody, or, you know what I mean? Like, I recognize that other people have different experiences, and that's fine and great. I'm just trying to tell you my own personal experiences, right? So it made me a lazy piece of shit. And the amount of times that, you know, I had that conversation with my dad about, you need to get a fucking job and all that stuff, and it was hard to get a job because basically everyone drug tested, and I couldn't pass drug tests because I was fucking smoking pot all the goddamn time, and all that stuff. And one day, I was in my early 20s, I'd say maybe I was 23 or 24, somewhere around there. It's hard to remember. I got a hold of my friend, and he was like, hey, like, I'm going to my buddy's house, do you want to come with me? And we're gonna get high and play video games. And yeah, okay, sounds good to me. And we go over there, and this was in the very, very early days of medicinal marijuana being available, like, on the streets, right? Like, it still wasn't legal on a recreational level here where I live, but the quote-unquote good stuff, right? Of, like, I mean, at this point in my life, I'd been smoking Mexican brickweed for my entire, you know, for probably the last 6 years or so. And maybe a little bit, maybe even longer now. God, I don't even want to think about, oh, I'm so old. Anyways, you know, all we could get was just like the shitty brickweed, and like, it just, you know, it got you high, sort of, but like, there was a point where it was just like, oh yeah, you need you have to smoke like 3 or 4 bowls just to get a buzz and stuff like that, or, you know, you and your buddy share a joint, and it's like, all right, well, I'm gonna roll another one pretty much right away, right? And so we go over to his buddy's house, and his buddy, I'm not gonna use names of any kind because that's not important, but his buddy had access to, you know, quote unquote, the good stuff of, like, you know, medicinal grade marijuana. And this was, you know, around the time that this stuff was, at least as far as I was aware, still relatively new. And I had never really smoked, like, the good medicinal marijuana before this. And for the record, before I continue, I'm just gonna say that yes, I know I'm a dumbass or I was a dumbass, probably still am, and that I deserved everything that came to me. Okay, I'm not gonna sit here and try to pretend like this was bullshit, that, you know, I got fucked over or anything like that. I fucked up, and I paid the price for it. So we got high at a friend of a friend's place, and we played Fusion Frenzy on the original Xbox for about 4 hours. And it was, and so he had the medicinal grade marijuana, and he had a steamroller that had 2 different bowls in it. And so you could put weed in each of the 2 different bowls and light both of them at the same time. And like, you know, it was insane, right? Like, at that point in my life, I don't think I had ever been anywhere near that high before. And then by the time we wrapped up, it was around like 2:30 in the morning, I'd say. And, you know, the guy whose place we were at was like, all right, you know, it's getting late, blah, 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 get the fuck out, whatever. And me and my other friend, my original friend who, you know, I was there with, I had driven us there. And, okay, you know, let's take off or whatever. And we head outside and we hop in my car and we drive to, and, you know, we're driving back towards where my buddy lives so I can drop him off and then go home myself and go to bed. Because, you know, it was late and I was high as balls, and, you know, I probably wanted to, you know, go home and eat some pizza rolls or something and go to bed. And about halfway back to my buddy's place to drop him off, fucking Red and Blues come up. And again, like, I was so ridiculously high that, like, I just fucking, it wasn't, I knew I was fucked. I knew I was busted. I knew I wasn't going to be able to, like, lie or anything like that on the way out. I had to get out of it. And the cop comes up to the window, and I really don't remember this all that well. And my buddy kind of helped me fill in the gaps on it a little bit. But the cop was just like, so how high are you right now? And I was just like, fucking high as dicks, you know. And, you know, we went through the whole thing. Well, do you have any marijuana on you? Yeah, here it is. And I just gave it to him. And just not interested in fucking, you know, again, fighting or arguing about it. It's just, I was busted. I knew I was busted. And I was just, yeah, all right, you know. Oh, it's about to suck, but let's fucking, you know, deal with it. And, so, you know, that's what I did. And again, I gave the police officer everything that I had. He was relatively cool about it in that he let my friend go scot-free. Luckily, my friend, you know, was stoned, but he didn't have any stuff on him. So the cop was just like, whatever, I don't care about you. You know, you're high, but that's technically not illegal. And, you know, the other guy, me, in this case, is, you know, we're actually going to stick him with all this extra stuff on top of the possession and all that stuff. So, fine. My buddy gets to go home. He walked home from where we got pulled over, which it was a little bit of a walk, but it wasn't that far. And, you know, whatever. Props to the cop for letting my friend go, because I was honestly more worried about that than anything else. And, at that point, you know, I was arrested, put in handcuffs, put in the back of the police car. The cop, again, being cool, he let me use my cell phone in the back of the cop car to call my dad. And, you know, my dad obviously was not thrilled. And in fact, he probably would have let me just fucking rot in jail until the trial, except for the fact that I had done the exact same thing for him. I had busted him out of jail. I had bailed him out of jail. My father, he did get a DUI. It was one of those deals where he was like barely just a tad bit over the limit, right? Like the legal alcohol limit here for breathalyzer where I live is 0.08, and I think he blew like a 0.082 or something like that. But it just so happened to be 4th of July weekend, where the local law enforcement said, zero tolerance. If you're over the limit, you're going to jail. So any other time of the year, you know, outside of the major drinking holidays, he probably would have just been let to go home, but he got kind of dicked over on that. But when it happened, I went and I grabbed a friend, and we picked up my mom from the side of the road, and my friend drove my car home. I drove my mom in her car home, and then I went to the ATM and I pulled out the bail money to get my dad out of jail, and, you know, all that stuff. And my dad was very appreciative of that. And so when I got mine, it was technically an OUID, which where I live is operating under the influence of drugs, which is exactly what it was. And, oh, we're more efficient at creating bronze bars now, too. That's awesome. Anyways, moving on. So when I called my dad that one time, he remembered that, again, that I had done the exact same thing for him. And so when we, you know, when I called him, he was obviously not pleased, but he still went and got the bail money and got me out of jail. Thank you so much, Dad. In fact, now that I think about it, I'm recording this on Father's Day. So, you know, even though this video won't be up today on Father's Day, it's still Father's Day as of this recording. So, it's a good time to just say thank you, Dad. I love you for everything you've ever done for me. Which is a lot more than a lot of people would have done, I think. But, I called my dad, and he came and got me out of jail, and he dropped my mom off at my car so she could drive my car back, and you know, basically I got, you know, the jail people, the cops were like, okay, you know, your dad's here, he bailed you out, like, you can go. And all right, awesome. And you know, honestly, I was scared of jail, because I don't think I would flourish in a prison environment. But I was almost as scared getting into that car, just to see what my dad was going to say, especially because I was still high at the time. And all he said is, he looked at me and he just said, we're even now. This is your one. You did it for me once, I did it for you once, this is it, you know. And hey, that's fair enough. Honestly, more than I deserved at that point in my life, for sure. By far more than I deserved at that point in my life. So, and then I had to deal with the consequences of all that, even though I didn't have to spend more than a couple hours in jail. And they never even took me out of the drunk tank. And for the record, the cops themselves were cool with me. They weren't overly dickish or anything. At least not that I remember. Maybe there was some weird shit going on and I just don't remember it because I was fucking high as balls. But I don't think there was. I think they were, generally speaking, fairly cool. Given the circumstances, you know, given their jobs and you know, all that stuff. And maybe just because I didn't give them any trouble, you know what I mean? Like, you know, as far as I could, you know, maybe they were just like, well, like, this guy, like, at least he's not fucking throwing shit at us, you know what I mean? Like, who knows? But in any case, still not an experience I want to repeat. And again, thankfully, I didn't have to get stuck in with the general population of, you know, I hate to say criminals like this, but, you know, let's face it, criminals. Oh, there's a couple of dragons out in the background. Oh, look at that. Oracle bioluminescent. It kind of looks a little bit like me. We got different heads, and we're a little bit of a different color. But still pretty similar. It's nice seeing other new players and stuff laying around. I wonder what level they are. Okay, he's level 5. And that one's level 5. They must be playing together. They definitely must be playing together. I bet they're doing their, like, crafting tutorial quests and stuff. Anyways, moving on. We'll move past seeing other players here. But yeah, the in general the cops were fairly cool. My dad was pretty cool about it, all things considered. But I still had to deal with the consequences. So where I live, and I'm fairly certain, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm fairly certain that this is generally speaking true in the United States. There may be exceptions to this that I'm not aware of, but at the very least, where I live, driving under the influence of marijuana, as far as the law is concerned, is the equivalent of driving under the influence of alcohol, which is a pretty serious offense here. I ended up getting a decent lawyer. I've lived with my parents at the time, so I had extra, and I was working at least, so I did have the money to be able to afford a decent lawyer. And even with all that, I was on probation for several months, for I think 8 or 9 months. So twice a month I was randomly drug tested, so obviously I couldn't keep smoking pot or anything like that. And eventually, yeah, they're recalling now. I had to go do the random drug test twice a month, and I had to take alcohol or drug and alcohol counseling classes, and that costs a bunch of extra money. I had, the only main thing that I kind of missed out on throughout the whole experience was I didn't have to do any community service, which in retrospect was kind of a pain. It's kind of weird, really, right? You'd think that would be like the first thing they tack on, but I think I caught the judge in a good mood, honestly. I think that probably lucked me out more than anything else. I was the second case he had seen that day, and the first one was another young kid who just made a major mistake, and she was same as me, just very polite and cooperative with him. Like, he wasn't. So I think the judge was in a fairly good mood at that point. So that probably helped my case quite a bit. But in any case, and I had to go in and see my probation officer all the time and all that kind of stuff. I lost my driver's license for that period of time. I was only allowed to drive. I didn't lose it completely. I was on a restricted driver's license, and living in a small Midwest town, having a driver's license taken away is a big fucking deal because it's impossible to go anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't drive, you're either walking 8+ miles to wherever you're going, or each way, or you have to get a ride from somebody. It's a huge pain in the ass. So I was only allowed to drive to and from work and to and from my random drug tests whenever they cropped up. Which meant, and this was the bad timing for it, and my sister probably would have killed me if it wasn't for my best friend at the time. And I didn't have my license. My sister was getting married, and it was, she had never been married before. She's still married to that guy now. They have kids together. They're very happy with each other, etc. And that wedding was 800 miles from where I live. And obviously I couldn't drive myself there. And so I had to get with my probation officer, and I told her the situation. I said, I know I'm technically not supposed to leave the state, but my sister's getting married. I really don't want to miss that, and she was cool about it. And she said, yeah, okay, you can go. You haven't been causing us any problems. You're doing everything you're supposed to be doing. I don't see any reason that you can't go. You just can't drive. And I couldn't drive down with my parents because they went down much earlier to help set up for the wedding and everything. And I couldn't do that because of work. I could only get so much time off of work. Luckily, my best friend at the time he had his driver's license, and he was like, and he knew my sister fairly well as well. You know, we had been really good friends for a long time at that point, so it wasn't like he didn't even know who my sister was or anything. Plus, he was interested in going and just getting trashed at a wedding, you know, in a much nicer area than where we live. So, you know, he drove us down, and he drove me down, and, you know, that was incredibly awesome of him. It really saved my ass, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been able to go to that wedding, and my sister probably never would have forgiven me. She probably would have eventually, but she still would have been very upset about it. Understandably so, as well. And I did all my stuff, and I did everything, you know, that the courts required of me. I finished off everything. I haven't been arrested since, right? And that was a long time ago. That was over a decade ago at this point. I haven't been arrested since, and, like, everything's fine, right? Except during that time, I couldn't smoke pot, right? And I was still in the mindset of, like, well, I can't smoke pot, but I want to get fucked up. And I was old enough to buy my own alcohol at that point. I was of legal age to purchase alcohol. And so I did that instead. And I'll tell you, man, it got away from me. And it was slow at first, where, like, sure, I drank every night, but it wasn't much, right? I'd drink a couple of beers or whatever, you know, while I played video games. And then I would start playing something, like, around that time, it would have been, like, World of Warcraft or something, right? And, like, I'd start drinking, and next thing I know, I'd gone through a case of beer, and it was, you know, 4 hours later or whatever. Then, in the future beyond that, you know, as time progressed, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, right? And eventually I switched to hard liquor. I got to the point where, you know, it eventually got to the point, and this was around the time that I was 28, so this would have been around 4 or 5 years later, but it eventually got to the point where it was just like, oh, I'm drinking a half gallon of vodka every other day, right? Like, it would, like, I'd buy a half gallon on, say, Monday night and drink until I blacked out and passed out, and then wake up the next day and look at what I had left in that half gallon and thought, that's not enough. That's not going to get me through tonight. I'm going to have to go run up to the liquor store and buy another one. Right? And then that night, I would polish off the rest of the original half gallon and start in on the next one. And and that was around the time that I was 28, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse until finally, one day, I was working third shift at the time. So I was getting home from work around, I don't know, 6 or 7 in the morning. Probably around 7, because drive time and all that kind of stuff, you know. And I got home from work, and I started making breakfast. I'm a big breakfast guy. We'll talk more about breakfast in the future, but generally speaking, I love to eat breakfast food, regardless of whether or not I personally feel like it's breakfast time. It's just breakfast food's delicious, and I like to eat it all the time. So I got out of work, and I was making something breakfast, probably bacon and eggs or something, right? And I got this really, really painful thing in my guts area. I don't really know specifically, like, how to refer to it as, but it was, like, on the right, and, like, just off to the side. It was off to the side on the right, and kind of almost in line with my belly button, maybe just a little bit higher. And keep in mind, at this point in my life, largely due to the alcoholism, I was fucking fat. So I was somewhere in the neighborhood of 315 pounds, I would say. If you're from the UK and you don't know exactly how much that is, Google it, because it's, it's a lot. We'll put it this way. It's a fucking lot. I was fucking, like, I was fat to the point where, clipping my toenails was, like, an ordeal, right? Like, just, like, being able to reach down to my toes in order to clip my toenails was such an ordeal that I hated doing it. And honestly, for a long time there, when I was that big, I let my toenails just grow out. Like, way longer than they should have, because it was just such a pain in the ass to actually clip them. I had this it was really painful too, and I remember it fucking hurt, man. It was just like, I was like doubled over, like, and I was just like, alright, well, I'll tell you what, I remember thinking to myself, like, I know I'm gonna handle this. I'm gonna eat this bacon and eggs, and then I'm gonna get blackout drunk. And if that's... And I'll just drink my way through it, and then I'll be fine. And it wasn't. It wasn't fine. I still drank my way through it, but the next morning when I woke up, I was still in an extraordinary amount of pain. And I was just like, I can't go to work like this. I know I can't go to work like this. There's no way I can go to work like this. Like, impossible. Can't be done. So, I went to the urgent care, where I live, and, they told me that, they didn't have the equipment necessary to properly diagnose what was wrong, but they were concerned that it was my appendix. And appendicitis, if somehow you're unaware, it's basically one of your organs that we don't really need in any significant way. Gets, swells, and if it can burst, and if it does, it will kill you. So they sent me to the emergency room, and they ran a bunch of tests and stuff, and they're like, okay, well, it's not your appendix, which is the good news. The bad news is it's your liver. And your liver is fucked. Like, I remember the doctor telling me, like, you gotta know what you're doing to yourself. Like, like, you gotta quit drinking. And he specifically told me, like, your liver's to the point right now where if you don't stop drinking in the next few months, you're gonna be dead in less than a year. And that was my wake-up call. That was the point in my life where I said, okay, like, I guess I have to quit drinking, and I have to sober up and stuff. And luckily, at the time, I had the support that I needed from my friends and family, right? Where my friends knew, my friends and family knew what I was going through, and they were there to help me through it. And I did. I quit drinking. I didn't do it immediately. I scaled it back, because the biggest issue is if you are an alcoholic like that and you just quit drinking out of the blue, the shock from not taking in alcohol anymore can actually kill you just as much as as continuing to drink. And so, I took it a little bit easier. I slowly cut down until finally, about 5 or 6 weeks later, I'd say, I quit the rest of the way, and I just stopped drinking. And as of this recording now, it's been just over 5.5 years since then. Since I've had my last alcoholic drink. And I am now down to about 180 pounds. Down from about 315. So I've lost about 130 to 140 pounds in the last 5.5 years. Almost half my body weight is gone. I pulled myself out of it. And, again, thanks to the people that were in my life at that time. And, some of those people are no longer in my life for various reasons that I'm not going to go into specifics of. But a lot of them still are. And if you talk to those people that were in my life back then and ask them, okay, what's the difference between Jeff from then and now? And they would be telling you, a lot, they would be able to go on for a long time about how, my personality has changed, my motivation has changed, obviously the weight is like a very big, just if you, even my driver's license photo is still from back in those days, right? And I show people my driver's license photo sometimes, and it's just disbelief every single time. It's just yeah, I can tell it's you, but Jesus, you know what I mean? It's just such a huge difference in my appearance that, you would be forgiven for, if I didn't tell you, oh, this was me 5 years ago, and just showed you the picture, you'd be like, who's that? You know what I mean? Who is that? Why are you showing me this picture of this random fat guy? Yeah, and now, where I live, I still don't drink, obviously. I know I can't ever go back to that, because it just took over my life, and it almost killed me. And I know if I go back to it, it'll do that again. And I'm just not interested, especially in these days with all these delivery services and stuff. I can have alcohol delivered to my place. I can't. I know if I go back to drinking, it's going to kill me. And for those of you that listen to this, are thinking oh, I'm glad that didn't happen to me. I can drink and drink responsibly, and it's fine. I just have a couple of beers when I go out to dinner with my wife, or I just, okay, I'll get absolutely shit-faced and plastered, but I do it once every 3 months or whatever, that kind of thing, or we just went out for fucking St. Patrick's Day to get fucking hammered, and then that's the one time a year I actually drink, or I only drink when I'm on vacation, or whatever, anything like that. I'm not trying to, make people worried about their own health or make people concerned that, oh, am I an alcoholic or anything like that. And I'm not even really trying to discourage people from drinking and enjoying drinking in a responsible manner, right? Or even on occasion, irresponsible manner, right? Who am I to judge? For real. But, I still think it's important to talk about this kind of stuff, right? Where, that did happen to me, and it was a pretty big deal, It was a pretty significant part of my life, and it had a very significant impact on my life as well. So, as I said, I'm not trying to make other people feel bad, or I'm not trying to make people question whether or not they're an alcoholic or not. I just think that it's important that we don't forget the kind of impact that it can have, right? But anyways, when COVID started, so I know you know what that is, but when COVID started, I was laid off from my job for close to 3 months because we couldn't work safely with that going on, and they eventually figured it out. And also part of the problem was we made parts for another company that wasn't working because of COVID, right? And so I was off for almost 3 months. that been right before COVID started. So we got laid off in March, and I got my cat Zwei in late February. So I think I had my cat for, I want to say 3 weeks or so before, maybe 4, when we got laid off. And then it was just like, well, at least my cat's here, and we spent a lot of time together, and we had a lot of fun, and we enjoy each other's company and everything. But the problem was, I was getting bored because there wasn't anything open. You couldn't really go anywhere, especially in like the early parts of COVID. And where I live, specifically where I live, didn't get hit that hard, but you really didn't have to go far to get to places that did. And so everyone was, anywhere between completely freaking out about it and thinking that it wasn't real or whatever. But the point still, regardless, was there really wasn't anywhere to go or anything to do. And marijuana was recreationally legal for a while at that point, but the first stores in town that could legally sell it for recreational use without a medical card had just opened up in town. And I was like, yeah, fuck it. And so I went up to the dispensary and I fucking, bought a little bit, and I started smoking a little bit again. And obviously this time I decided I'm going to do this the completely legal way, where obtaining it and having it is completely legal. I'm not going to drive. We have DoorDash and other shit that delivers food, even just like your basic pizza delivery and like sandwich delivery and stuff. I utilized that, all that stuff. Never got behind the wheel, stoned again. All right, I'm doing it right this time. And I'll tell you, man, it turned me into a lazy piece of shit. Just like when I was fucking 20 years old. And I was like, and basically what would happen was like, especially the first time, like I bought like a couple of pre-rolled joints from the dispensary, right? Brought them home, got high for 3 or 4 days straight off of those, 2 joints. And then I'd wake up and I'd sober up after I ran out and everything. And I'm just sitting there like looking around my apartment. It's fucking trash, right? It's not like, it wasn't like watching an episode of Hoarders or anything like that, right? Like it wasn't that bad. But it was still just like, I need to clean the kitchen, I need to clean the bedroom, I need to clean, the kitchen was a disaster, because I just fucking high as balls, just make a bunch of food, and then just leave the mess, and I just did that over and over and over again, and like, alright, I need to do laundry, and it just fucking, instead of doing any of those things, I'm going to the grocery store, because I barely have any food, and instead of doing those things, I just get high and play video games or listen to music or sit around and talk to myself. You know what I mean? And it was like, it was fun. I enjoyed it. But then when I sobered up, I was just like, oh, this is awful. I gotta fix this. And like, I just kept going through that. You know what I mean? Where like, I'd get high for, a week straight and then fucking sober up. It's just, And, I decided ultimately that I'm too much of a lazy bastard to begin with. I don't know when I'm sober, I don't know where I get the motivation to actually do the things that I need to do. But when I'm sober, I do everything I need to do and I'm good, right? I live alone, it's my own mess, but, it's wise too. But I should keep it clean for him, if nothing else. But yeah, like, just generally speaking, like, it just fucking getting high, it just turned into this lazy piece of shit. It's just like I'm a teenager again, and it's like, fuck, like, that's not what I want. Like, I enjoy being high, and, it's not something that, it's not it didn't destroy my life in the way that it did when I was a kid, largely due to the fact that it's legal. But it also didn't destroy my life in the way that alcohol did, which was nice. There's like a nice balance there. But I still was just like, yeah, like, I don't think I can do this all the time, And on top of that, it's a little bit better now, but dispensary prices back then were insane. I'm not gonna quote numbers or anything here because you're gonna be like, oh, that's, but whatever. It was expensive. I think last time I looked, and it's been a while now. I've been sober for a while now. Off the marijuanas, for a while now. But the last time I looked, the prices had come down a bit, but like it was still like ridiculously expensive, prohibitively expensive. Where really, like, you gotta have a really good fucking job and be making really good money in order to afford this shit. And I didn't have that. I didn't have that at all, really. Well, during the layoff, it was great because we got, this is America, we got the federal unemployment assistance or whatever, where they tacked on an extra like $600 a week. And that was the most money I'd ever made in my entire life, and I wasn't even working, which is the insane part. But, once that ended and I went back to work, which again was about 2.5, 3 months in, that was it, right? Like, that was just like, okay, well, that's all of it. Like, I'm back to making my original amounts of money, and now I can't afford to do this all the time, right? No, it's just like a special occasion kind of thing, and, whatever. But even when I do, on occasion, like, and I think, okay, well, I'm gonna have, a little bit for a couple of days, like for a weekend, we'll say, before I smoke. Even now, I'm still gonna like take the time to like make a significant effort when I'm sober to clean and get set up for it, have plenty of groceries, and try to pre-plan out meals that I can, make when I'm stoned, but also that don't have, that aren't going to make like a huge mess, right? So stuff that I could just like throw on a cookie sheet in the oven, and then, and then that was it, right? Where it's just like, yeah, okay, at least, with this, chicken tenders that I bought at the grocery store that come in the freezer aisle, I can just, put these on a cookie sheet, throw them in the oven, and eat them with a little bit of blue cheese, and I dirtied a plate and some parchment paper that I put on the cookie sheet, right? Not a huge deal, not a big deal to clean up. That worked for me, right? That works for me, where, and then by the time the weekend's over and I get up Monday, I work second shift, so I work in the evening, but, I get up Monday and, clean up what little I have to clean up, and then I'm sober again for the week and I move on with my life, and just go about being a responsible adult, where I go to work and, put gas in my car and buy groceries, and, if it's really hot out, like it is right now, maybe go for, maybe run out to the, there's like a small man-made like lake in a small park, not too far from where I live. I'm not even going to say the name of it because, privacy and stuff. But, go out and go swimming a little bit, or before work or whatever. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And so I think, honestly, I could be wrong about this. I'm not a doctor. I've tried to talk to doctors about this, and they're just not having it for whatever reason. I'm not too sure what the reason for that is, and that I'm not too sure why. Like, anytime I try to bring it up, doctors just change the subject, like, immediately. But, like, you may have noticed, like, especially if you watch through, like, Horizon Zero Dawn or the Spyro Reignited trilogy, sometimes I'm just talking, and just for literally no reason, I just completely lose my train of thought. And I know it's happened in this series at least a couple of times, because I've been editing these, and, I remember it happening more than once, and I'm not too sure. I activated the wrong thing. I don't know for a fact that it's the case, but it definitely feels like part of the reason that happens is because of what I did to myself with alcohol, when I was younger. And, maybe it has something to do with the alcohol. Oh boy. Okay, so we hit. Well, all right. I'm gonna finish my thought, and then while we're walking to the next thing, and we'll continue talking. So maybe it was alcohol related. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just naturally dumb or whatever. I have no idea, and I don't really have a good way to figure out like what that problem is specifically, right? But I just, even compared to like when I was a teenager, I just feel dumb. My brain feels slow, and it took me 5 years to graduate high school, and I never passed algebra in school. Like, I can calculate tax and tip like a motherfucker, but if you try to like put me down with like, oh, figure out this equation, no, that's never gonna happen. I don't even know how to do long division anymore. Like, I tried, like 6 or 7 years ago, I was filling out a thing for work, like a test to try to get a job. And it was like, you can use a calculator if you want, but like, here's a piece of paper just in case you don't. And I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. Why not? Let's try it. We'll try it without the calculator. And then I like wrote out the long division thing, and I was like, I don't know how to do this. I have no idea. And like, I tried like 6 or 7 different ways that I thought could work, and just none of them came out with, like, I knew what the answer was. I just couldn't figure out how to fucking make it work. It was a whole thing. So, again, I'm just operating under the assumption that probably I'm just dumb, honestly. That's my story. That's why that's why I am the way I am, I think. Maybe I'm just a fucking weirdo out the gate, and then the alcoholism like just kind of exacerbated it a little bit. I have no idea. But moving on, we did hit level 20 in our dragon crafting throughout that story. So if you weren't paying attention to that and you were just listening to me talk, we gained like 6 or 7 levels throughout that. Thank you, double XP. So, because we hit level 20, we gained new versions of all of our dragon crafting skills. Or abilities, I should say. So, we gained a new quarrying, we gained a new gem working, and all this stuff. And all it really means is that it technically allows us to work with the next tier of materials, which is tier 2. We're not going to be doing that really anytime soon. We still have a couple more levels to get in crafting before we really can work with that material, because our skill is still fairly low. So the minimum skill to work with tier 2 materials is 200. And as you can see, we're only at 169 for mining and quarrying. Even our smelting's only at 189. So we still have a couple more. We still need 2 more levels before we can even work with that material in any way. But it still took away our tier 1 abilities. So we just need to put our tier 2 abilities on our action bars here, so we can continue working and crafting things. Where is Scalecraft? There it is. Alrighty. So, but we did hit level 20, and it did open up our second wing scale slot, which means we can make another sandstone strength wing scale, and we only need 14 bricks in order to do it. And let's see, that is enough. So what we'll do is we'll come in here, we'll make our sandstone bricks, and then we'll recall back into Nutrismus, and we'll head over to the Dragon Scale Forge and make that scale. And that's, like I said, It's still a tier 1 scale, but it's another one, so it's going to add another 10 strength and 5 armor, whatever it is. And eventually, we will get higher tier scales as well, which will help out even more. Oh, wait a second. No, I fucked up. I'm dumb. Where's the... Yeah, no, we didn't get a second wing scale slot. We got a head scale slot. I cannot make a head scale. So, if we look at... I'll just throw those bricks in my vault, I suppose. But if we look at Carrion's list here, we actually should be able to buy up... Oh, no, okay. So, yeah, the strength head scale requires 200 Scalecraft, which we do not have. We only have 187. So, we're going to need a couple more levels, or... Since we are level 20, we can do the next tier's worth of craft skill quests. So we could get 1 level plus do those quests. We will do that eventually. For right now, short term, we're going to grab up the formulas that we can now use that we didn't get before because we couldn't use them. That looks like it's basically everything that's new. Other than the head scales that we can't use yet. So there is no tier... So if we look at the beginner strength head scale, it only allows you to make slate, which is tier 2. There is no tier 1 version of that head scale. So we can't... We can't, we could, but yeah, we're not going to be able to do anything with that, in the moment. So, I think that's going to be a good place to call it for this one. I hope you enjoyed story time. I hope that... I know that when I talk about this stuff, and like when I'm at work and me and my coworkers are telling each other our stories of, you know, and a lot of people I work with have similar stories as me, you know, from all that stuff, that, you know, it's entertaining and, you know, all that stuff. And I hope it was entertaining for you. I do hope all the dumb bullshit that I fucking ruined my life with when I was a kid at least made you laugh a little bit, or gave you some sort of perspective, or maybe even helped you a little bit with your own thing. You know, anything going on. I hope I hope at least you got something out of it, one way or another. But as always, I'm going to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.